Hello everyone, this is the finale of What If Naruto Was the God of Fuinjutsu, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist. To see more, comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Kakashi dodged a lightning-charged water ball as he continued to use the buildings as a shield. We need to hold him back, Kakashi shouted as Gaara, Mei, and Onoki appeared next to him. What are we going to do? Kakashi questioned the cages, but Mei simply smiled and pointed towards a lone shinobi standing on a building. He was tall with a scroll tied around his en and wore a black cloak, but he quickly removed the clothing, revealing a smiling Suigetsu. This is going to be fun, Suigetsu shouted as he opened the scroll and in a puff of smoke was holding a giant sword with a scroll full of explosive tags. Behold the power of Boruto, blast sword. With that, Suigetsu jumped at Kakazu, who sent a wave of black thread at him. My plan involves using Suigetsu as a distraction as we try and take Kakazu down. Mei finished, still wearing her smile, as Suigetsu reverted his body into water, allowing the black thread to pass through him. XXX. Naruto looked around at the desolate landscape, seeing no sign of Sasuke, but found the remains of Jugo. Sasuke, Naruto murmured as he continued to gaze around the area, but still found nothing. Naruto turned and began to head to Konoha to help with anything needed, but he never noticed a boulder being lifted up, revealing a gleaming Sharingan underneath it. XXX. Suigetsu was laughing as he swung the explosive sword, causing yet another limb of black thread to blown off. I can keep this up all day. Suigetsu grinned with glee in his eyes. Kakazu glared at Suigetsu as his blown-off limb repaired itself. I'm going to crush you, Kakazu screamed out, but at that moment Onoki appeared in front of him holding a cube between his hands. Jinten, Genkai Hikuri no Jutsu, dust release, detachment of the primitive world. Onoki fired the cube at Kakazu, who charged up his fire and wind masks, firing him at the cube. Kakazu's eyes widened as the cube continued on its path, smacking into him. Damn it, Kakazu exclaimed as he looked down to see a glob of lava hit him in the sea. You pathetic roaches. Mei smiled as Kakazu was wrapped in a ball of sand as both he and Tsunade appeared in front of Kakazu with their fists flaring with chakra. Kakazu was sent backwards as his body was already beginning to repair itself. Kakazu spun around and landed on his feet with a glare. You can't beat. Suddenly Kakazu was smacked backwards as a new figure entered the fray. Right now you don't want to F with me, came Naruto's growl as he narrowed his shifting blue eyes on Kakazu. Do yourself a favor and back down. Kakazu growled and immediately charged at Naruto as he brought his hands together in a bird sign. Fuinjutsu, Kamiyari, God Spear. Kakazu stopped his charge as several spikes shot out of his sea. What is this? Kakazu screamed as Naruto looked away and began to walk towards the ninja force behind him. That is your end, Naruto answered simply as Kakazu let out a roar as the spikes merged together before shooting upwards and changing into something that resembled a star made out of spears. I've had a bad day, Naruto grumbled out as everyone looked at the Uzumaki in surprise. I'm fine, Hinata, Naruto said with a smile, but that quickly disappeared as he looked around. Where is Ukaiken and Konan? Tensei decided at that particular time to appear. He took Konan to Azushio to get healed, Tensei stated, but was still tense. But he was supposed to be back by now. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he turned his attention to the direction of Azushiogakur. XXX. Ukaiken looked around the village from atop his post on the tower with a scowl on his face. In front of him was a dark cloaked figure with a mask and Akatsuki robes on. So what do you say? Madara smiled at Ukaiken, who clenched his fist as Madara kept his smile under his mask. Ukaiken looked behind him and saw Konan and Enmatsuki getting everyone out of the village. If you join me, this can all end. Yeah, but I think I'm happy here. Ukaiken swung his blade only for Madara to allow it to pass through him. Ukaiken went to bring the blade in a downward swing, but Madara T in a blast of speed. I didn't even see him move. Now, Madara stated with a sick glee in his voice. I came here to offer this village a chance to join me, but you spit it back into my face. Madara shook his head back and forth with a sort of disdain. Now I have to figure out how best to K and crush you all. Yukaiken's eyes widened as he was thrown with enough force to go through a line of buildings before stopping at the end of the island. There is no way he should be that strong. Yukaiken thought as he gritted his teeth through the pain. What the hell is he? Yukaiken stabbed his sword into the ground and used it to help him up. Yukaiken. Enmatsuki jumped down next to Yukaiken as Conan appeared in a flurry of paper. Are you alright? Yukaiken smiled at her, but couldn't keep the pain from entering his eyes. Yeah. Yukaiken grumbled out as he stood straight up. Never felt better. With that, Madara reappeared in front of the three with his head to one side. Now what are you going to do? Madara smirked as the three looked at each other with slight nervous expressions. I can answer that question for you. Madara vanished once again in a burst of speed, reappearing behind Enmatsuki's. Enmatsuki turned with a surprised expression just as Madara brought his fist down, but before Madara could connect with Enmatsuki, a blade extended, blocking Madara's fist. Your fight is with me. Yukaiken growled as he swung Madara away from Enmatsuki. Conan, get yourself and Enmatsuki out of here and tell Naruto what has happened. Conan looked at Yukaiken, but that was when Enmatsuki stepped up and stood next to him. I'm not leaving. Yukaiken looked at Enmatsuki, who only glared up at him with red eyes. I can handle myself. Yukaiken smiled at that and turned to Madara as Conan also stepped up. Together we can hold him off, Conan announced with certainty in her voice. Madara chuckled at that as he shook his head back and forth. You don't know a damn thing about what I have become. Madara took off his mask, revealing a face that was one half looked like it belonged to a normal man with withered skin, but the other half was pitch black with only the Rinnegan shining through. You. Conan looked at Madara in shock as he smiled at her. Yes, I took back what was mine, Madara commented, but before Conan could speak further, Madara was suddenly blasted by a wave of ice that froze him in place. The group turned to see Haku standing with a glare on his face as he turned to his allies. The others are safely out of harm's way, was his reply as he vanished and reappeared next to Enmatsuki. I came back to help. Yukaiken nodded his head, but that was when the ice shattered, causing everyone to turn their attention back to Madara. How touching, Madara stated as he dusted himself off with a smile. But I'm afraid that none of you can even lay a single scratch on me. Madara then vanished as Haku caused a giant wall of ice to appear all around the group. And this proves it. Haku turned around just as Madara punched through his sea. The last of the group looked at the scene in shock as Madara tossed Haku's body at Yukaiken, who caught it, but was sent skidding backwards from the throw. Haku! Yukaiken yelled out as he leaned in on Haku, who smiled at him with bead dripping from his mouth. It's okay, Yukaiken, Haku managed to say with his voice barely a whisper. At least I can see Zabuza again. With that, Haku's head fell back with the ice shattering all around them. Yukaiken began to shake uncontrollable as he gently laid Haku's body down. How sad. Yukaiken jerked his head up as his sword shattered, covering his body until he resembled nothing more than a sword turned human. Madara's eyes narrowed as Yukaiken let loose a roar as swords were fired from his body. Madara avoided the blades in a burst of speed, reappearing behind Yukaiken, but just before he could punch, swords shot out of his back. Madara vanished once again as the blades embedded themselves into the buildings. Conan, take Enmatsuki and run. Yukaiken growled out as he punched the ground, causing more swords to erupt out of the ground. No, we can. Enmatsuki never finished as Yukaiken quickly disappeared and reappeared behind her. You can't do that, Yukaiken said with a sad tone in his voice. Enmatsuki suddenly felt darkness close itself around her as Yukaiken delivered a chop to the back of her En. Yukaiken wrapped his arms around Enmatsuki before she fell and gently gave her to Conan. Get her out of here. Conan looked into Yukaiken's eyes and nodded her head before she vanished in a flurry of paper. You are going to here, Madara replied with a sickening smile. Maybe, but I will make sure that you remember that you fought me. Yukaiken growled out as the two ran at each other with nothing but madness reflected in the other's eyes. XXX. Naruto, Tensei, Hinata, and Gaara kept going through the trees, heading directly to Uzushiogakure. Naruto stopped on a tree branch as he saw another figure approaching them carrying what looked like a body. Who's there? Naruto growled out, not in the mood to have another distraction. Naruto! Conan yelled out as she appeared with a look of panic on her face. Madara is in Uzushio. Naruto's eyes widened at that as Conan continued. He also took the Rinnegan from Nagato's body and Haku. Where is Yukiken? Naruto questioned with barely suppressed rage at hearing of Haku's death. He is trying to hold Madara back. No sooner had those words left her lips had Naruto vanished in a burst of speed, shattering the branch he was on. Naruto, wait! The entire group shouted as Naruto disappeared from their view. Damn you, Yukiken! Naruto thought with desperation. Why do you always try and do things by yourself? XXX. The moment Naruto stepped foot onto Uzushiogakure, he knew what he would find. Everything was destroyed from the buildings to the ground. Naruto looked around and saw various swords sticking out of everywhere. What happened? Naruto thought as he continued to look around for Yukiken and Madara. That was when he saw a huge pillar of black chakra erupt from the center of the island. Naruto ran towards the energy, but couldn't shake the feeling of dread growing in his stomach. Naruto arrived at the scene to find one of the most disturbing sights he had ever seen. Madara was covered in a black chakra cloak supporting 10 tails as his skin began to peel back on one half of his body. Yukiken struggled to stand up and grip the place where his right arm used to be. Oh, look if it isn't Naruto. Madara stated with an echoing voice. Run, Naruto! Yukiken shouted with panic in his voice. He is too. Now don't spoil the. Madara at that moment was kicked in the side of the head, sending him into the rubble of a building. Naruto landed on the ground next to a gagging Yukiken, but grabbed his Kyuubi-cloaked foot as pain soared through it. Naruto looked at his foot to see that his cloak was burned all the way through. What the F did that? Naruto looked up only to see Madara brushing the dirt and bits of rubble off his shoulder. Naruto watched in horror as Madara grabbed a piece of the building and watched as it dissolved into nothing. What the hell are you? Naruto mumbled with a nervous glare in his eyes. I'm Madara Uchiha. Madara replied with a smirk on his face. Future, I'm no Rikudo, second of the 6 paths, and the Jinchuriki Tajubi. That last phase struck Naruto with a mixture of fear and anger. Oh, that's right, you didn't know that the Biju used to be one Oni until the Rikudo Sennin sealed it inside of himself. Then right before he used the last of his power and divided the Great Beast's chakra into 9 separate Enis. If that's true, then how can you have it now? Naruto questioned as Yukiken struggled to regain his footing. I still have Kyuubi. You have part of Kyuubi. Madara's voice grew colder at that with a lot of edge behind it. Your father Minato sealed half of Kyuubi's chakra into you while the other half got sealed into his body. The world seemed to stand still as realization smacked into Naruto. That's right, I stole your father's body and extracted the other half of Kyuubi's chakra. Right now Kyuubi is not even at full power, but I'm still stronger than you and Kyuubi combined. Face it, Uzumaki, you lost this fight the moment you stepped back on this pitiful island. Naruto stood still as he kept his Kyuubi's cloak active. I guess I don't have much choice. This caused Madara to his head in confusing at Naruto's words. Naruto pushed off the ground, vanishing and creating a crater on the ground as he reappeared behind Madara. But to crush you into dust. Madara simply looked at Naruto with his Rinnegan as he watched Naruto's arm descend towards head, but before it could reach Madara grabbed Naruto's arm in a vice grip. The area Madara shook from the force of Naruto's swing being stopped so abruptly. I told you I'm stronger. Madara swung Naruto into the ground, and just as Naruto began to get up he stomped him back into the ground. Naruto screamed in pain as Kyuubi's cloak burned its way through Kyuubi's cloak and straight into his back. Just give up, Naruto, I don't want to waste me time on such a weak. Madara looked down and watched as the blade simple melted away before looking up to see Yukiken staring him down. Madara roared with laughter at Yukiken's challenge. You still think you can beat me? Why don't you come over here and find out? Yukiken yelled with hatred in his voice, causing Madara to glare at him. Find, I was going to let you watch as I kill that girl you were fond of here. Madara suddenly appeared next to Yukiken with his fist raised. But I changed my mind. Yukiken stood his ground as Madara's fist erupted from his back, splattering the rock behind him with B. Now that is done. Madara stopped when he heard Yukiken chuckle at him. What's so funny? This. Yukiken took the remaining strength left in his broken body and formed a tiger seal. Naizen Sekai, 10,000 worlds. Madara looked around and watched as all the blades Yukiken fired out of his body began to break apart and form new blades until they began to darken from the sheer numbers of them. I'm going to either way, But I can at least make sure Naruto has a chance. Yukaiken smiled at Naruto as B spilled from his lips. GG goodbye. Yukaiken slumped on Madara's arm just as the blades descended on Madara. Naruto brought his arm up to defend his face as the ground exploded from the impact of Yukaiken's final attack. Naruto uncovered his eyes and found a saddening sight, Yukaiken's broken body. Yukaiken. Naruto mumbled, but then reality smacked Naruto in the face. Where is Madara? Naruto turned just as Madara punched him in the gut, sending him through several downed buildings. That was foolish. Madara growled out with anger and hatred in his eyes. Give you a chance to beat me. You should know how futilely that is against the new Madara Uchiha. I cannot be stopped and I cannot be K. You cannot win against me, Naruto. Naruto pushed some rubble off his C and gentle laid his head down as Kyuubi's cloak faded away. I'm at my limit, Naruto thought with some amount of sadness in his thoughts. I can barely even move my arms. Get up. Kyuubi roared in anger and spite at his container. You can still beat him, but you need to get up. I don't know what to. Naruto began only for Kyuubi to roar in hate. You are an Uzumaki, Kyuubi stated with each word falling out like venom. You are the only clan that contain my full power. Madara may have stolen my other half, but it still calls to be reunited with me. That half of my power is what is keeping the other Biju together. If you can get close enough, I can use my chakra to pull my other half out. But I don't have time. That was when it hit Naruto as he pulled up his shirt and saw the seal containing Kyuubi glowing. I can use this seal as a medium and the remainder of my chakra has a focal point. Kyuubi growled in response as Naruto stood up, surprising Madara. But I have to ask, why are you helping me? Because no matter how much I hate the Uzumaki. Kyuubi growled with pure menace in his voice. I despise Madara even more. Naruto nodded his head as he stood his ground as Madara began to laugh. You fool, you cannot even hope to come close to beating me. Madara vanished and grabbed Naruto by the N in the span of a second. Do you understand the difference in our powers? Madara lifted Naruto up into the air with a snarl on his face. Naruto suddenly shot his hand up and grabbed Madara's arm, ignoring the burns he was receiving. Gotcha, was Naruto's only response as his top layer of clothing was blasted off by a massive release of chakra. Madara watched with fear in his eyes as Naruto's seal began to expand until it covered his entire body. What are you doing? Madara yelled out as he tried to free his arm, but that was when a giant clawed hand erupted out of Naruto's stomach and went through Madara's C. Madara's body froze at the sudden intrusion as he looked down at the red chakra as it slowly began to pull back into Naruto. I'm taking back something that doesn't belong to you. Naruto mumbled as his eyes slowly began to close as his chakra supply went out. Madara let loose a roar as the other half of Kyuubi was from his body, causing the other Biju to separate from Jubi's body. Naruto felt Madara's grip loosing until he fell to the ground with a thud, but in Naruto's mind something else was happening. XXX. Naruto awoke to find his sewer gone, only to be replaced by a large building in front of Naruto. Naruto walked towards the building with caution in each step, but just as his foot touched the first step, the building exploded into a shower of tiles that filled every corner of Naruto's mind until he was in what appeared to be a large dojo. The building was bare except for a single pillow in the middle of the room, but it wasn't vacant. An old man was sitting on the pillow with long gray hair that fell almost to the floor. Please come closer. The man waved to Naruto to come to him. Naruto approached, but with each step as cautious as the last. The man looked up and Naruto nearly fell backwards in surprise. The old man looked almost identical to Naruto except for his eyes, which possessed the Rinnegan. The man chuckled at Naruto with amusement. I am what your world calls the Rikudo Sennin. Naruto was shocked at hearing these words, but never let it show as he glared at the man in front of him. You can't be him, Naruto said with certainty in his voice. US years and years ago. I did Rikudo said with a solemn voice filled with years of wisdom. But as I placed one finally seal onto Kyuubi no Kitsune, one that will allow me to appear when my true descendant possessed him. I mean to say, Naruto, that I am your ancestor. But how can that be? Naruto stated with shock in his voice as the Rikudo smiled. It is true that I had only 2 sons. The aged man started as he looked up at the ceiling as if lost in distant memories. But here is the piece of information lost to history that no one knew about. My true name is Issei, sage of the second order, Uzumaki. Issei smiled at Naruto's shocked face as he collapsed onto his butt and stared at him. How else did I deal with Jubi? I may have created ninjutsu, but I used Fuinjutsu to seal him into me. But that was when the air of the room turned cold. Now you must do what I could not. What's that? Naruto asked, still confused about everything that was transpiring. Get rid of Jubi for good. Issei yelled out as he began to fade away. I don't have long, but you have the tool needed to finish the job, you just need to draw it out. Goodbye Naruto Uzumaki, may we meet in the next life. And before Naruto could question further, Issei vanished, taking the dojo and building with him. Naruto stood up as he looked up at the cage of Kyuubi as his red eyes shinned down at him with malice. Now what will you do? Kyuubi growled at Naruto, who frowned up at him with his brow creased. You knew, didn't you? Naruto stated as Kyuubi growled, which felt more like an earthquake. So what if I did? Kyuubi replied with no sympathy in his voice. It wouldn't have done me any good for you to know that information. Naruto kept looking at Kyuubi until he turned and headed left towards his forest. Remember this, Naruto, I am stronger than before. I will get out of here, and when I do I will KO you. Naruto ignored Kyuubi as he entered his forest and looked around until he spotted the sword laying against a tree. I've transferred some of myself and a power into you. Itachi's words echoed as Naruto neared the tree. I guess it's time to figure out what that power is. Naruto grabbed the sword and shield and felt a jolt of power surge through him. XXX. Madara watched in horror as Naruto slowly stood up with 9 distinct tails swishing behind him, but he still kept the sage-like appearance he had before absorbing the other half of Kyuubi. Madara watched as Naruto clenched his hand into a fist as an ethereal sword appeared in his grip. That can't be possible, Madara said with mounting panic in his voice. That's Itachi's Totsuka no Tsurugi. Naruto lifted the blade and looked at it in the light as a smile spread across his face. I understand how to use it. Naruto responded with an air of power coming from him. This was Itachi's last gift to Konoha, the power to destroy Madara Uchiha. Naruto yelled this out as the ground exploded, showering the area with debris as Naruto charged. Madara ducked under Naruto's sword swing and held his hand palm forward at Naruto. Shinra Tensei. Madara yelled out as he attempted to blast Naruto away, but Naruto's 9 tails dug into the ground behind him, stopping him from moving. Madara's eyes widened in fear as Naruto smirked at him before roaring like a trapped animal, sending Madara's attack back at him. That can't be possible. Madara went flying an inch above the ground as a shadow appeared above him. He looked up to see Naruto stomp him into the ground, causing a pillar of rubble to shoot upwards as the ground was shoved away from the impact zone. You kept telling me to give up. Naruto growled as he bent his knees to get a closer look at Madara. But I never give up and I never surrender. With that, Naruto jumped off Madara, pushing him further into the ground. Don't let him look you in the eyes. Kyuubi warned with a hint of hesitation in his voice. He can still stop the flow of my chakra. Naruto nodded as he vanished in a burst of speed before reappearing next to Madara's head. Madara looked at Naruto just as Naruto kicked him in the head, but just as Madara began to leave the ground, a wall of sand appeared in front of him, cushioning his impact. What the hell? Naruto thought with confusion as Madara began to chuckle. I still have the other 8 biju inside me. Madara replied as he slid down the sand onto his fight. And they will still protect their host in the hopes of being free. Madara turned around as B slowly began to drip from his eyes. Naruto gripped his sword tighter as he felt the different chakra sources coming from Madara. Then I will just have to beat you down. Naruto roared as he was encircled by a pillar of energy that slowly began to burn the ground. Madara smirked as different colored chakra began to spill out from him. Naruto and Madara dashed at each other, colliding into a pillar of chakra as the air around them began to distort from the pure raw chakra pouring from these two. Naruto and Madara narrowed their eyes at the other as they exploded away from each other, only to disappear and collide once more. You may have Kyuubi, but I have the other biju. Madara screamed out as a giant wall of sand came from below Naruto, forcing him into the air. Naruto looked down just as Madara's hands seemed to catch fire by blue flames. He punched the sand and Naruto watched in awe as the fire began to climb up the sand as if alive, turning the sand into glass as it went up. This is bad, Naruto thought as he roared, releasing a wave of chakra that pried the sand off of him, allowing him to escape. Naruto landed on the ground next to Madara as he swung his sword at Madara only for him to jump into the air and float there with a smirk. He can fly. That was when he took notice of chakra wings on Madara's back. The host of the Nanabi no Kabutomushi gains the ability to make chakra wings. Madara said with a smirk still on his face. I have the advantage. Not only can you not touch me, but the moment you look me in the eye I will not hesitate to force Kyuubi's chakra back. Naruto growled as he felt more of Kyuubi's chakra force its way into his body. Face it, you can't win against me. Naruto growled with animalistic potency in his voice as he ran up a slanted building until he reached the very top. Madara watched with wide eyes as Naruto jumped into the air using the sun to blind Madara as he brought the sword down towards Madara's face, but before it reached him a wall of sand appeared in front of the blade. Naruto was suddenly blasted away from Madara by a wave of both sand and chakra. What the hell am I supposed to do? Naruto growled in fury as he fell from the sky, landing on his feet. I will win. Naruto shouted as an image of a giant fox appeared behind him. Madara smiled down at Naruto, but his smile soon disappeared as a shadow fell over him. Madara. Madara turned to the voice as Naruto looked up to see a very wounded Sasuke with his sword held above his head. Madara watched as the blade was brought down at him, but merely let it phase through him. Sasuke hit the ground with a tremendous thud, but stood on his feet quickly muttering curses under his breath. I'll deal with you once he is S. Sasuke announced, turning his only active Sharingan on Naruto, who gave a nod. I wouldn't have it any other way. Naruto muttered as lightning began to bounce off of Sasuke's body and began to trail off into the sky. Why are you fighting with him? Madara asked with both confusion and anger in his voice. You are an Uchiha. That's right, I am an Uchiha. Sasuke muttered darkly with his hair keeping his eyes hidden. Which is much more than you can say. Madara was shocked by Sasuke's words as the Uchiha continued. You KR clan out of spite. You didn't like that they betrayed you and agreed with the Senju, but Itachi did what he did because he was ordered to. Sasuke jerked his head up with his eternal Mangekyo spinning like a top. I will not allow you to taint the name Uchiha. Suddenly a giant flash of lightning appeared, causing both Madara and Naruto to look up. You remember this jutsu, don't you, Madara? Sasuke's smirk was one of glee and anger as Madara's eyes widened. I decided to change it a little. Behold Enten, Kirin. The lightning-based dragon descended from the heavens, but it wasn't alone, covering the beast with the flickering flames of Amaterasu. Once it connects, it won't explode like last time. Oh. No, it will scar the land and reduce everything to dust. Sasuke swung his arm down, giving Naruto enough time to grab Sasuke and bolt just as the dragon collided with Madara in the middle of the island. Naruto reappeared with Sasuke on his shoulder and turned around to see Uzushi Ogakuwa be engulfed by the black fire. Why did you save me? Naruto promptly dropped the Uchiha on the ground. I didn't, was Naruto's response as he looked at his ethereal sword. I just wanted to finish our fight. Sasuke glared at Naruto as he turned to Sasuke, but that was when a vortex appeared between them. They both watched in shock as Madara's badly burnt body was dropped in front of them. I will not so easily. Madara commented as he stood up with his left arm hanging limply to his side. I am immortal. Sasuke narrowed his eyes as his hand erupted into a lightning bolt. Naruto on the other hand looked at Madara with a look of both pity and disgust. Why can't you just accept it? Naruto asked, drawing Madara's attention. You are in no position to fight us. Naruto began to walk towards Madara as his chakra flared into a giant pillar with the faces of each Biju together on it. That will not help you. The chakra suddenly became an oversized chakra ball that slowly began to shrink in size. I will crush you, Uzumaki. Madara shouted as he threw the orb at Naruto, who stood his ground. The orb smacked into Naruto and shot upwards in a beam of black energy as the ground began to crack from the force. Sasuke brought his entire arm up to block his face from the rubble sent his way as Madara began to laugh. I will rule the world and bring about everlasting peace. Madara stopped as Naruto reappeared right beside him, already swinging his ethereal sword at him. Madara felt the blade pass through him as B shot out of his mouth, causing him to collapse to his knees. This is over, Madara. Naruto replied as the sword went to work on sucking Madara in. Madara glared up at Naruto with his Sharingan gleaming with hate. Why do you fight to stop me? Madara questioned as he tried to fight the ceiling. My peace is the only true peace. Naruto stared at Madara directly into his eyes with no hate, but with understanding. Because I'll make sure that the entire world ceases their fighting. But the first thing needed to be done is to get rid of the Biju. Goodbye Madara Uchiha. Madara glared at Naruto as his entire body was absorbed into the blade, leaving only Naruto and Sasuke. Naruto released Kyuubi's chakra and watched as the sword faded into the wind. Now we finish what we started. Sasuke smirked as his lightning ball began to turn black. Naruto nodded to his as he formed a raisin shuriken in his palm, causing Sasuke's smile to grow bigger. No holding back, I see. I don't want any more interruptions, was Naruto's response as Sasuke laughed. This is the end of the road, Sasuke. Now the question becomes who will be the last man standing. Sasuke snarled at Naruto as the two stood opposite each other with the wind cascading through the field. The two dashed off their perches and swung their jutsu at each other. XXX. Enmatsuki and the others jumped into a nearby clearing only to see a giant crater and to see Uzushiogakure burning. What happened here? She and the others suddenly heard the clash of metal against metal. They all turned to see Naruto and Sasuke standing on the opposite side of each other. Sasuke's sword was sparking with his lightning chakra as Naruto's staff was encircled by wind chakra. Both of them were missing pieces of their clothing and were supporting injuries. We need to help. Hinata stopped when Naruto smiled at her. I don't want anyone to interrupt this fight, Naruto stated as his staff began to crack and split. Because this is what Sasuke and me have been waiting for. Naruto banged his staff on the ground and everyone stared as his staff began to fold and twist together. Sasuke smirked at Naruto as his staff finished its transformation into a guardless katana. So this is going to end without blades. Naruto made no comment except by raising his sword, pointing the blade at Sasuke. They glared at each other with no other thought in their minds, but the fight ahead. Hinata watched with worry in her eyes as Naruto and Sasuke began to walk around each other, not taking their eyes off the other. Wind began to blow through the battlefield, knocking off a single leaf from a tree, allowing it to slowly fall to the ground, but at the moment it touched the soil, Naruto and Sasuke charged. Naruto brought his sword down as Sasuke brought his up, causing the two swords to meet at a single point. Naruto skidded across the ground as Sasuke charged once more with a sick excitement reflected in his eyes. Naruto dug his feet into the ground and spun in a circle with his sword to his side. Sasuke dodged just as the blade passed right by him, but couldn't dodge Naruto's kick that was aimed at his stomach. Sasuke grabbed Naruto's outstretched leg and pulled him along as he was sent back. Naruto swung his left arm up just in time for it to take the impact and also allowing Naruto to force the blade away. Naruto pulled his sword out of the ground and threw it at Sasuke, forcing him to release Naruto's leg and grab the blade. Naruto took the opportunity and gripped the blade in his forearm and pulled it out just as Sasuke looked up. Naruto swung the sword in a downward arch at Sasuke's head, but Sasuke jumped backwards only to receive a C that went down his eye. Naruto spun the blade around as he twisted his body, trying to build up momentum just as Sasuke began to do the same thing. They both swung their blades, causing a spark of metal to appear as they passed each other. They both turned their bi around at the exact same time, thrusting the blades forward. You tried to K me on multiple occasions and you attacked Konoha. Naruto looked Sasuke directly in the eyes and saw the light begin to fade in them. But the strange thing is, Sasuke, I don't think I could ever truly hate you. You were like a brother to me, and that is the memory I will always cherish. I will keep the memory of what you used to be alive, but the Sasuke I see in front of me needed to rest. Goodbye, Sasuke. Sasuke slowly closed his eyes as a smile began to appear on his lips. Idiot. With that, Sasuke collapsed to his side as his C stopped moving. Everyone looked towards Naruto just in time to see him collapse as well. XXX. Naruto felt himself floating in a sea of darkness as his eyes slowly began to close. Naruto. Naruto's eyes opened back up at the voice, as if he only heard it in a dream. You need to stay awake, Naruto. Naruto continued to look around, but could only see the vast darkness. Naruto laid his head back down and felt himself begin to drift into his eternal sleep, but at that point a strong fist descended and punched him in the head. Naruto jerked upwards and rubbed his head furiously and glared at the direction the fist came from. Finally got you awake, brat. Naruto's eyes widened at the voice as he began to remember. You need to wake up, honey. Naruto turned to the new voice as the darkness began to fade away, revealing Kushina, Jiraiya, Minato, Onanami, Kakuheiki, and Yukaiken. What are you doing here? Naruto questioned as he looked at his hand, confused. This got a chuckle from Minato as he wrapped his arm around Naruto's shoulders. I guess you can say you are in between. Minato stated with a smile still on his face. All I remember was swinging my sword at Sasuke, and then, Naruto gestured to the surrounding darkness. Did I K Sasuke? Kakuheiki gave off a yawn, causing everyone to glare at him. Yeah, the Uchiha kid is S. Kakuheiki looked at Naruto with the same tired look he had when he was alive. Naruto gave Kakuheiki a sad smile as he sighed. Don't apologize now, Naruto. I made my bed and now I can finally get my well-deserved nap. Naruto chuckled at that and looked to Yukaiken, who slowly approached Naruto. Naruto, tell Enmatsuki that I'm sorry. Yukaiken looked at Naruto with deep regret in his eyes. But I did what I did to try and make the world a much more safer place for our child. Naruto nodded his head and shook Yukaiken's outstretched hand. I promise, Yukaiken. This brought a wide grin to Yukaiken's face as Jiraiya pulled him away. Now you can't go off and be the same brat, you understand? Jiraiya replied sternly, but couldn't keep the smile off his face. But either way, I am proud of my student and godson. Jiraiya turned and walked away as Kushina and Minato gave Naruto a big hug. You did it, Naruto. They both said with happiness in their voices. We couldn't be more proud of you than we are now, but it is time for you to wake up, your friends are waiting. Wait, are you saying this is all a dream? Naruto asked, looking from face to face, but the only response came from his father. You could say that. Minato looked up as the darkness began to open, spilling sunlight through the area. But of course, what is a dream? People talk about dreams and how they will make them a reality, but is it really true? I'll have to say yes to that, because dreams are what make you, Naruto. Without dreams you are nothing, but an empty shell looking for a place to belong. Now you asked, was this a dream? Well, that is for you to decide, Naruto. Naruto was about to open his mouth to speak when a beam of light hit him, blinding him from seeing and hearing any more. XXX. Naruto's eyes flew open only to get blinded by a small flash of light, forcing him to close his eyes. Naruto slowly opened his eyes once more to see that he was in a hospital room filled with all his friends. Naruto continued to look around to see a crying Hinata in front of him. What's going? Naruto never finished the question as Hinata threw herself at him and wrapped him up in a bear hug. Naruto looked down at Hinata's head as she cried, allowing Shikamaru to speak up. You've been out for almost 2 months, Naruto. Naruto turned his head in surprise as Shikamaru continued. The combined effect of fighting in 3 different fights and then sealing Madara away put you in a coma. Naruto smiled at his good luck of having came out as he gently began to rub Hinata on her back. I thought I was going to lose you like father. Hinata managed to choke out amid her tears. I'm not going anywhere, Hinata. Naruto continued to rub Hinata's back as her tears slowly began to ess. I promised Hiashi to keep you safe and I will not break that vow. The others began to leave, deciding to leave the two alone. Hinata, can you help me? Hinata looked at Naruto as he stared out the window with a slight smile. I want to see the sunrise with my girlfriend. Hinata looked around a little and as gently as she could she picked Naruto up and helped him to the window. They both watched as the golden orb began to rise in the distance as Naruto grabbed his necklace he won against Tsunade. What are you doing? Hinata asked as she felt the necklace wrap around her neck. I won this from Tsunade when I went to get her. Naruto explained as he gently grasped Hinata's hand in his. I want you to have it, because I always meant to give it to you, but. But what, Naruto? Hinata asked as Naruto looked her in the eyes with pure happiness. But only when I could get the nerve to tell you. Naruto kept looking at Hinata in the eyes as he watched her shake a little. So I guess here it goes. Hinata Hyuga, ever since we started to go out I've never been happier. All my life I never knew what it was like to be completely loved by somebody, but that changed on that one day. At this point Naruto had some tears in his eyes as he looked back at the sun. So I guess I'm asking. You don't need to ask. Was Hinata's only response before they both K once more. They separated only after needing to take a breath, but both were still wearing smiles. So what happens now, Naruto? Naruto wrapped his arm around Hinata's waist and looked back out towards the sun. I don't know what the future is going to be. Hinata laid her head against Naruto's shoulder as she sighed with contempt. But so long as we are together, there is nothing we can't handle. The two stayed like that, completely still as statues, as if the world around them didn't exist except for them. XXX. Naruto Uzumaki sat at the top of his tower looking towards the moon with a dim expression on his face. It's been 5 years since that battle. Naruto thought with disbelief in his words. At least the fighting has stopped for a time being. Naruto stated as a figure walked up behind him, wrapping her arms around his waist and laying her head on his back. You should be asleep. You should be as well. Hinata replied back as Naruto turned around to look at her directly. You have to attend the cage meeting tomorrow and you need your rest. After the destruction of Uzushiogakure, Naruto set about rebuilding his home. With the help of Konoha and Kumo, to everyone's surprise it was rebuilt. Enmatsuki was devastated by Yukaiken's death at first, but after Naruto delivered his final words, her resolve came back. She was now living in Uzushiogakure, taking care of her son she had named Yukaiken after his father. Naruto then set out to make sure the world stopped its constant fighting and proposed that a meeting of every cage be held once a year in order to promote stability between the villages. So far it was working and everyone was getting along a lot better, but there was still some tension about getting to friendly. How are you doing? Naruto asked as Hinata blushed a little and looked down slightly as she rubbed her stomach. We are doing fine. Hinata responded as Naruto gave her another K. Let's go, I have to get some sleep. Naruto looked back at the moon as he was gently pulled towards the door. Is this the piece you wanted, Jiraiya, Dad? If so, I plan on keeping it on this path and make sure it stays this way, I promise. Naruto turned his gaze away from the moon with a smile as he closed the door on the past and opened the door to the future. The end. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.